Writing, performance, and development are the most important when it comes to how we view and remember characters, but names are quite important as well. And though a bad name doesn't automatically mean a bad character, they do at least give us stuff to laugh at. So here, we'll be talking about 15 hilariously named video game characters. ABRA, KADABRA, Pokemon. Pokemon as a series has always embraced its whimsy, and that is constantly reflected in the way it names its eponymous monsters. One of the funniest examples of this is the entire line of Gen 1 psychic Pokemon, ABRA, which evolves into KADABRA, showing no subtlety in its abracadabra reference. TRUBBISH, Pokemon. Over the years, Pokemon has often come up with designs and names for its monsters that surpass all limits of ridiculousness, and no Pokemon exemplifies that better than TRUBBISH. That's not a slight on the creature itself. Trubbish is actually a pretty cool Pokemon, especially because of its evolution. Garbodor is even cooler. But a Pokemon that looks like a trash bag being called Trubbish? Sure, it's appropriate, but that's not always a good metric for names. It'd be like calling Ghastly Ghost Ball. Donkey Kong. Donkey Kong. Donkey Kong as a series has no shortage of hilariously named characters, but the one we're focusing on here is the main man himself. And do we even need to say it? Donkey Kong is not a donkey, he's a gorilla. Why is it called Donkey Kong? As Miyamoto himself explained it, his name is loosely supposed to mean stubborn ape, with donkey conveying said stubbornness, but surely there would have been a better way to do so. And while we're at it, why does he wear a tie? Mario. That's a lot of Mario, and no, we didn't say Mario twice by mistake. Though there's been a lot of back and forth over the years, Nintendo and Shigeru Miyamoto ultimately seem to have settled on the fact that his full name is Mario. Yes, Mario is his first name and his last name. Mario is a perfectly fine name and everything, but we're not sure it's good enough to be used twice on the same person. Hot Coldman, Metal Gear Solid Peace Walker. Hideo Kojima has a knack for coming up with some truly ridiculous names, to the extent that we could have populated more than half of this list with Kojima characters, but none of them come even close to the stupidity that is Hot Coldman's name, and it's the kind of stupidity that needs no explanation. How a man with a name like Hot Coldman got so many people to take him so seriously is one of Metal Gear's biggest mysteries. DIE-HARDMAN, Death Stranding. Hideo Kojima is a movie buff. Even if the man himself didn't tell that to every person he met, every chance he got, Death Stranding's DIE-HARDMAN would have made it very clear. Sure, the game tries to explain why he got that nickname, but he's really only called that because Die Hard is one of Kojima's favorite films of all time. And do you know what DIE-HARDMAN's real name is? John Blake McClane. Sound familiar? Ceaseless Discharge, Dark Souls. Given that this Dark Souls boss just won't quit with its endless barrage of lava and fire, Ceaseless Discharge is a perfectly accurate name for it. But why? Why would you name something Ceaseless Discharge from software? Why would you do that? Unless you wanted players to be forced to think about unpleasant trips to the bathroom. Max Payne. Max Payne is one of the coolest characters we've ever met in a video game, while the Max Payne trilogy has 3 of the best third-person shooters we will ever play. Separated from that knowledge, though, the name Max Payne falls apart under scrutiny very quickly. It's a not very clever play on maximum pain, and while that's fitting for a man who's led such a miserable life, appropriate doesn't always mean good for character names. NOOB SAIBOT, Mortal Kombat. Noob SAIBOT might be a badass ninja with a cool and complicated history, but he will always carry the burden of being named Noob, like his parents hated him or something. But his name becomes even more ridiculous when you consider why developers ended up calling him that. Noob SAIBOT is the surname of Mortal Kombat co-creators Ed Boon and John Tobias, spelled backwards. Pizza Pasta, Punch-Out. You don't need us to explain why this is a stupid name. No character should be named Pizza Pasta, for the same reason they shouldn't be named Donut Hamburger. Pizza Pasta is especially ridiculous in this case because the name's primary purpose is to get it across that the character is Italian. That Man, Guilty Gear. That man has an actual name, and that name is perfectly fine, while he's also often called the Gear Maker, which is also relatively okay. But more often than not, he's referred to as That Man, which is the definition of lazy. As one of the primary antagonists of the series, you'd expect him to have a better name, or, at least a name. Martial Law, Tekken. Names that are also puns are almost never a good idea, but they're even worse when they make no sense. While martial law works as a pun in the most mechanical way possible, in that Marshall and Law are actual first and last real people names, the character himself has nothing to do with the concept of martial law. Not even remotely. There's no connection here. Dr. Eggman, Sonic. The Robotnik-Eggman schism for Sonic's Big Bad first came about thanks to Western localizations of earlier games in the series, which saw Dr. Eggman being renamed Dr. Robotnik, with the character's creators having no knowledge of the fact. Eventually, even the Western releases started calling him Dr. Eggman, referring to the shape of his head, which is so unbelievably worse than Robotnik. It's hard to wrap our heads around why the developers made the decision. HUNK Redfield, Resident Evil. HUNK Redfield, in spite of not having made a lot of prominent appearances over the years, holds a special place in the heart of Resident Evil fans, as he should. He's a very cool character. His name, however, isn't the best. For starters, no one is called HUNK. That's not a name, that's a description. Soap MACTAVISH. One of the characters in the series, Soap MACTAVISH's biggest fans can't help but make fun of his name. No battle-hardened soldier should be named Soap, even if it's a nickname. It's an absolutely hilariously bad name. And that about does it for this video. If you enjoyed what you watched and want to see more from GamingBolt, you can always hit that subscribe button and turn on the bell icon next to it. That way you will never miss any of our videos.